pregnant and abandoned, left to die on a dirty road. She cried out as strangers passed by with zero sympathy. Nobody stopped to help the poor woman in pain. But what they did not know was that there was more to her than being a helpless woman in the road. In fact, she was so much more. And the secrets revealed in this story will leave you speechless. Only one stranger approached her and saved her. But being saved was only the beginning of a huge revelation. As she rested on the brick, crying out and stretching to the crowd of bustling people walking past her, she suddenly felt sharp pain. Her eyes grew blurry under the hot, scorching sun. Who was the person that dared to save the helpless poor woman that day? And how did she end up in such a situation? The poor pregnant woman you are seeing on your screen right now was actually a wealthy, billionaire woman. Her story is very unique and will teach you a valuable lesson. Clara was a rich billionaire with multiple businesses. She had the biggest boutique in Abuja, with customers coming in from every corner. Clara was not into romance and love, and always focused on her huge ambitions and dreams until she met a man one day. He made her realize she could have it all, the money and the love at once. His name was Alex. Alex was a charming, handsome man, but he was also jobless. All he had was his charisma and wit. Clara was determined to build him and make him a better man. He may not have any job or plan, but he's a nice guy. I love how he makes me feel, she told her friends one evening. They tried to advise her, but she did not listen. I don't need a man for his money, she would say. And so, she gave him everything, a home and finance. They got married, with Clara sponsoring the entire wedding, and the knot was tied. Their marriage was amazing at first. The whole city talked about it. But everything changed when Alex realized he could take advantage of her wealth. One day, during one of their couple's vacations that Clara fully sponsored, Alex walked out of the pool, glistening in glory. If there was one thing he knew, it was how to charm women. He walked up to Clara, smiling with his perfect teeth. "You look breathtaking," he said, and Clara loved the validation he gave her. Then came the words that clouded her judgment. "I'm your husband now, but everyone always says I'm just a loser. If you love me, you should put me on. Besides, we'll start a family. I know you've always wanted a baby girl, a mini Clara." That night, Clara sat alone, reminiscing on all the good times Alex had given her. They had gone on multiple vacations, shopping sprees, and trips to different countries. Alex had been a fun companion and had brought adventure into her life. "Before I met him, I was a workaholic with no time for love. He changed that for me," she thought as she signed away her rights to everything she had built. To Clara, Alex was her husband, and she would have his children. Whatever sacrifice she was making was not only for herself, but for the family they were building. However, things did not go as planned. Alex began to drink heavily and disrespect her every day, and constant fights broke out between them. "Alex, you withdrew 10 million from my account. Why?" Clara asked one afternoon. "Yes, and so? What's yours is ours. Why do you care what I do with the money?" Alex scoffed angrily. The mistreatment continued for months after their marriage. Clara had no choice or control over how her own money was spent. Chaos brewed constantly in their home, and in the end, it all ended in divorce. Alex was quick to bring up the files where she had accepted him as a major part of her business. She lost so much money in court and was rendered poor. "This is not possible, please. I made a big mistake, but is there any way it can be corrected?" Clara cried to her lawyer, but her lawyer shook her head and lowered her face. "Clara, I'm so sorry. You are a good friend of mine, and if there was any way I could have helped, I would have. But you agreed to this when he convinced you," the lawyer said. Clara wept in pain and agony, but there was nothing that could be done. The news spread quickly, and Alex paraded himself as a rich, young, handsome man. He met a younger lady and decided he was done with Clara. It was the biggest betrayal she had ever felt, for she had given him so much money, power, and fame, and yet he abandoned her. What made matters even worse was that Clara found out she was pregnant. Alex never cared to return. Nobody cared about Clara, and even her friends abandoned her. She went from being a rich, comfortable woman to a helpless, poor, pregnant woman on the streets, begging to eat while her wicked ex-husband enjoyed her fortune. Clara eventually returned to her mother's home in the village. It was a huge disgrace, but she had no choice. Every morning, she woke up and carried a basket of groundnuts to the market. her pregnant belly heavy as she begged people to buy from her. Some days were painfully dry and exhausting. One afternoon in the market, under the scorching sun, Clara noticed two fish sellers by the corner. She heard them laughing and whispering, and suddenly one said, "Look at her. She used to be very rich in the city, but now she's back in the village, with no food to eat." They laughed and mocked her as she wandered through the market, calling out to customers. That night, Clara sat with her frail mother by the fire, her heart heavy with worry for her unborn child. Her mother, though old and weak, spoke with wisdom. "Do not beat yourself up for your mistake. What is done, but I must assure you that your child will be a great blessing. I don't know how yet, but trust me, you won't even expect the blessings that will come." Clara wondered what miracle this baby would bring. She could have gotten a decent corporate job, but employers told her she was too heavily pregnant. And after hearing about her messy divorce, they refused to give her a chance. She already felt that the pregnancy was a huge obstacle in her life, but she decided to hold on to what her old mother had said. Clara began making preparations for her delivery. Her mother was very old and could barely sit upright, so she could not rely on her mother's help. The villagers were mean and cruel, gossiping and spreading bad things about her, leaving Clara all alone with no one to turn to. She set up a small shed just outside the hut where she intended to give birth, gathering a few food items and torn clothes, praying to God that her child would come out safely. But on one afternoon, her baby came unexpectedly. It was a usual market day, and she wandered the market searching for customers. "Groundnut, oh come buy sweet. Groundnut," she shouted, as she carried the big basket under the scorching sun. People walked past her, some laughing and pointing, choosing to buy groundnuts from others rather than from her. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain and knew instantly that her baby was coming. She collapsed on the hot ground and looked up at people for help, hoping they would put their hate aside for an innocent baby, but no one cared. The villagers only watched her and passed by until one stranger appeared. His name was Boju. He stretched out his hands to her and immediately carried her on his back, walking as fast as he could under the blazing sun. He reached a stop, looked at her, and said, "I'm a doctor. Don't worry. You will have your child safely today." Clara felt an instant wave of relief. It was not an easy journey, and under a hidden shed, she pushed with everything she had until she finally heard a cry. It was a bouncing baby girl, beautiful and healthy. Clara held her baby in her arms and smiled, naming her Shine. In that moment, it felt like all the pain had been worth it. But when she looked up at the man who had saved her, she noticed his strange smile, one she could not understand. Her heart warned her that this man was up to no good, but she was too helpless to do anything. "This place is not safe. Let me take you to my house," Boju said. Clara wanted to refuse, but she knew the streets were dangerous, especially with a newborn. She had no choice but to follow him. The man carried her to his home, a fine and beautiful house that resembled a castle, with fleets of cars and a huge water fountain outside. She walked in holding her newborn baby girl, staring in awe as she observed the place. Clara's heart pounded against her chest as the tall woman in the gown set the tray down. The smell of herbs filled the room. Clara's grip on Shine tightened, her mind screaming to run, but her legs refused to move. "Everything is ready," the woman repeated, her voice sharp like a blade. Clara's throat went dry. "Ready for what?" she asked, her voice shaking. Boju leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled, his eyes never leaving hers. The silence stretched until Clara thought she might faint. Finally, he leaned forward, his tone calm. "For your healing," he said. Clara blinked, confused. What do you mean?" Boju sighed and gestured toward the strange woman. "Relax. You think I brought you here to harm you?" "No, Clara. That's not who I am. Do you know what I do?" She shook her head cautiously. "I specialize in helping women like you. Women abandoned, women betrayed, women who've lost everything. That woman you see is a midwife and herbalist. She's helped dozens of mothers in this village survive childbirth. Those pictures on the wall." He gestured at the framed faces. "Every single one of them walked into my home broken and left stronger, alive, with their children, safe." Clara's eyes darted to the photos again. She wanted to believe him, but the fear in her chest still clung tight. Boju continued, "I'm not your enemy. Clara, I know about Alex. Everyone knows how he humiliated you, paraded your fortune, and left you with nothing. But what people don't know is that you're still powerful. You can rise again. And I can connect you to someone who can help rebuild what you've lost. Clara's ears perked up. Who? A close friend of mine, Boju said smoothly. He's a top lawyer in Abuja. He specializes in overturning fraudulent contracts. If Alex tricked you into signing away your rights, there may be a way back. You're not as helpless as you think. Clara's mouth fell open. Could it be true? Her lawyer had told her there was no way to reverse it. Could this stranger really know something different? She whispered, almost afraid to hope. Why are you helping me? Boju smiled, this time softer, almost kind. Because I believe in women like you. You built an empire once, Clara. You can build it again. But you need allies. People who won't use you like Alex did. Clara lowered her gaze to Shine, who was sleeping peacefully in her arms. The child stirred, tiny fingers curling around her mother's. For the first time in months, Clara felt a flicker of hope. But just as she began to let out a sigh of relief, the tall woman in the gown finally spoke again, her voice cold, eyes fixed on Clara's baby. Boju helps women, yes, she said. But not all who enter this house leave. Clara's breath caught in her throat. She looked at Boju sharply, but he only smiled faintly and said nothing. Clara finally poured her heart out to Boju, every detail about Alex. The contracts, the money, and the lawyer who told her there was no hope. Boju listened quietly, then made one call. 2 days later, Clara sat across from Boju's lawyer friend in Abuja. He spread the papers on the desk, eyes narrowing as he read. This doesn't add up, he muttered. Who told you this case was dead? My lawyer. My friend, Amaka, Clara whispered. The man slammed the file shut. She lied to you. Clara, this case was winnable. In fact, the clauses here protect you, if properly argued. Alex can lose everything he stole. Clara's chest tightened. So why would she? The lawyer cut in. Because she was paid. Look here. This stamp, this rushed filing. It's all intentional. Your friend sabotaged you. The truth hit Clara like a hammer. She dialed Amaka immediately, hands trembling. Clara. Amaka's voice cracked the moment she picked up. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Alex offered me money, 10 million. I thought you'd be fine. You had everything. I didn't know he would destroy you like this. Clara's hand shook with rage and pain. You were the only person I trusted. And you sold me out. On the other end, Amaka sobbed. Please, Clara, don't hate me. I'll make it right. I'll testify against Alex if I have to. Please forgive me. Clara hung up slowly, her eyes burning. She realized then, not everything, and not everyone, was as they seemed. Boju placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Now you know the truth. What you do next will decide everything. Clara took Boju's advice and instructed the lawyer to file the case. The court date was set, and she knew Alex would finally have to face her. Meanwhile, Alex was in his glory days. Inside Clara's old Abuja mansion, music blasted, champagne poured, and women laughed around him. He leaned back on the velvet sofa, sipping wine, his gold chain glistening under the lights. A call buzzed on his phone. It was the court notice. Alex smirked. So Clara finally wants a fight? Let her come. She'll lose again. He laughed, raising his glass as the girls around him cheered. He dialed Amaka, his old ally. You know what to do, right? Make sure she doesn't even stand a chance. I want this wrapped up quickly. But what Alex didn't know was that Amaka had already switched sides. Her betrayal had been exposed, and she had confessed everything to Clara. On the other end of the line, Amaka's voice trembled. Yes, I know what to do, she said quietly, hiding her tears. She didn't dare tell him yet that the game had changed. Alex chuckled proudly and hung up, raising another toast. To victory. Clara will never rise again. But as he partied, Clara was already preparing the evidence, the papers, the confession, and Amaka's testimony that would shake his entire world. The courtroom was filled with tension as Alex swaggered in, confident as ever. He wore his expensive suit, flashing his smile, certain that victory was already his. But as the judge read the evidence, his smirk faded. Amaka's confession, the forged papers, the fraudulent contracts, all lay bare before everyone. The gavel slammed. Alex, you are hereby stripped of all rights to Clara's company. Furthermore, for fraud, malpractice, and theft, you are under arrest. 2 policemen grabbed him immediately. Alex fought, screaming at the top of his lungs. No, this is not over. Clara, I'll come back for you. I'll deal with you." But his voice only echoed as he was dragged out in handcuffs, his downfall complete. Clara sat silently, holding Shine in her arms, tears of relief rolling down her cheeks. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Boju stayed by her side through it all. He supported her, connected her with the right people, and helped her rebuild her company from scratch. They remained close friends, a bond growing stronger each day. Perhaps one day it could turn into more, but for now, they were content standing together, two survivors, two dreamers, rebuilding life with trust and vision. Moral of the story: never entertain a man without vision or ambition. Be careful who you give access to your wealth and heart. If you're a working-class lady, guard your success wisely. Don't let someone like Alex take everything you worked hard for. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to check out other amazing stories on this channel. They will inspire, shock, and entertain you. See you in the next one.